It started with a favor, something as innocent as checking in on someone who had no one else around. Amanda Carson was 42, newly single, and trying to rebuild her life after a long and draining divorce. She'd moved to a quieter suburb outside Denver, hoping the change of pace would help her rediscover peace. She wasn't looking for drama, wasn't seeking attention, just peace, fresh air, and a reset. Her neighbor, Rebecca Moore, had been kind enough to welcome her with muffins and an open smile. The two had become casual friends, talking over morning coffee or chatting while watering their front lawns. It was during one of these conversations that Rebecca mentioned her son, Dylan, a 24-year-old recent college graduate who had moved back in temporarily while job hunting. "He's been feeling kind of down lately," Rebecca had said, with a hint of concern in her eyes. "The rejection letters, the pressure, it's just a lot. I worry sometimes." Amanda nodded empathetically. She remembered her own son at that age, trying to figure out who he was. "If he ever needs anything or someone to talk to, I'm around," she offered. She didn't think much of it at the time. But the very next week, Rebecca left town for a week-long work retreat, and she texted Amanda, "Could you check in on Dylan while I'm away? Just make sure he's eating and not locked in his room all day." Amanda agreed. Course she would help. Started simply. Quick knock on the door. Dylan answering, his hair messy and eyes tired. "Hey, Amanda," he'd mutter with a half-smile. "I'm okay, just stuck in my head, you know?" She'd nod, bringing him some leftovers or fresh banana bread she had baked that morning. They'd sit and talk for a bit, usually on the porch or in the kitchen. Dylan had an old soul for his age. Thoughtful, quiet, but sharp. He spoke about the pressure of not living up to expectations, the struggle of transitioning into adult life, and how rejection gnawed at him silently. Amanda listened. She offered advice without preaching, encouragement without sounding insincere. On the third day it was raining hard. She knocked with an umbrella in one hand and a pot of homemade chili in the other. Dylan let her in, wearing a white t-shirt and sweats, his hair damp from the quick dash to the door. "You didn't have to come in this weather," he said, taking the chili. "I said I would check in," Amanda replied, smiling. They sat on the couch and talked while the rain tapped on the windows. Dylan opened up more that day. He spoke about the loneliness of trying to be strong when he didn't feel it. Amanda could relate. She told him about her divorce. Not all the details, just enough to let him know that life, even when it fell apart, could come back together. The warmth between them was subtle but unmistakable. She noticed how his eyes lingered on hers a little longer, how he laughed a little more freely. Amanda reminded herself this was Rebecca's son, a boy she'd known for a week. And yet, there was something undeniable in the air. The next day, she found herself looking forward to the visit. She wore a soft, flattering sweater and jeans that fit just right. Not for Dylan, she told herself, but to feel good. To feel noticed. Dylan, on his end, had cleaned up a bit too. He'd even lit a candle in the living room. They watched a movie that evening. Something light-hearted and forgettable. What she didn't forget, however, was how close they sat by the end of it, their arms brushing occasionally, the silence between scenes filled with something that felt heavier than the movie's plot. At one point their fingers touched. Neither of them pulled away. Amanda stood up quickly. "I should go. It's getting late." Dylan didn't stop her, but his eyes followed her to the door, filled with something like longing and confusion. She couldn't sleep that night. What was happening? She was twice his age. He was her friend's son. She wasn't a reckless person. But the loneliness she'd buried beneath her daily routine had started to surface, and for the first time in a long time, she felt seen, desired. The next evening she didn't go over. Dylan texted, "Everything okay?" She didn't answer right away. But the pull was there. By the time the sun had set the next day, she found herself back at his door. He opened it like he'd been waiting. "I wasn't sure if you'd come," he said. "I wasn't sure either," she replied honestly. They sat again, talking quietly. He told her he'd gotten another rejection email. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Don't let this define your worth," she whispered. Their eyes met. The air between them grew still. When he leaned in, it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't awkward. Their lips met slowly, softly, unsure but full of heat. Amanda pulled away, her breath shaky. "We can't," she said. "I know," Dylan said, looking at her with honesty. "But I don't want to pretend anymore." She left in a rush that night, emotions tangled in guilt and yearning. Days passed. Rebecca returned. Amanda smiled as if nothing had happened. Dylan avoided her eyes. For a while, Amanda thought it was over, that it had been a momentary lapse. But a week later, Dylan showed up at her door. "I need to talk," he said. They sat at her kitchen table. He apologized. He said he respected her too much to complicate things. Amanda appreciated the gesture but confessed the truth. She had felt something too. That night, they didn't cross any physical lines. But their emotional bond deepened. Over the next few weeks, they continued talking. Openly, honestly, carefully. Amanda set boundaries. Dylan respected them. Still, the connection didn't go away. It wasn't lust that kept them circling each other. It was the recognition of two lonely souls finding understanding in unexpected places. Eventually, Amanda spoke to Rebecca. Not everything, but enough to be transparent. She told her they'd become close while she was gone, that Dylan had opened up to her, that she had developed feelings but hadn't acted on them inappropriately. Rebecca was shocked, but grateful for the honesty. "You're both adults," she finally said. "Just be careful." Amanda and Dylan didn't rush anything. They gave it time, choosing connection over chaos, sincerity over impulse. Their story didn't end in scandal. It grew into something tender, rooted in mutual respect and yes, in desire, but shaped by boundaries, maturity, and truth. Amanda never expected to feel this again. Not with someone younger, not during a chapter of life she thought was already written. But sometimes the heart writes its own ending. And hers had just begun.